Welcome back to Qore Conversations. It's Sean and Todd. Todd Smith, CEO, founder at QoreAI. You know him for all of the decades of innovation that he's been pouring out into the industry. A super successful business startup, entrepreneur, creator of industry first tools. I mention it all the time because he's done some things before others, and some things that are very much still entrenched in how a lot of dealers operate and what they use in their recipes for success today. A lot of that stuff is there, and he's one of all of us. Whether you're a service provider or a vendor, or you're in the retail side of our automotive industry, Todd has spent years and years and years on both sides of the aisle, as we would say here in our beautiful industry. So you can trust that you're getting information, and when we have these conversations, you're getting it from somebody who has deep experience, which differentiates him from all the people who just started to talk about AI and data last week. There's a difference. So welcome, Todd. How are you today?
Doing great. I think the word you were looking for, I'm bipartisan to
There you go.
both the vendor and the
Yeah.
dealer world. I think I've definitely spent time on both. I love both with different passions.
Yes.
But love this industry. It's such a amazing, always changing, dynamic, same word, industry that keeps you on your feet. I feel like, you turn your back for a minute and wow, like so much changes. So
yeah, it is. You and I both have spent careers, in this industry, and it is one that, gosh, man, twists and turns, and the overcomers and the perseverance. That all that stuff's really real. It's also a perfect, I think, snapshot to give people for an industry that was significantly changed by all the technology that started. Yes, before the internet, but from the internet and the digital age all the way now into the age and the era of AI. Dealers are trying to sell and service in the midst of avalanche after avalanche of technology that's moving far faster than any of us can keep up with. And that's why I love having these conversations, because I think you're able to very clearly, like very few other people that I know, and then I listen to in the industry, cut through noise, position things with really bold, unique, differentiated opinion. And I think that's why people like hearing from you, and they build trust in you, because you're not really trying to do anything other than just tell people this is the way it is, whether they like it all the time or not. And so we are continuing, for those that watched the previous episode. Today, Todd, I'm taking you back through more questions, because we had about 20 that we pulled, that were things that come up from dealers, from people in the industry, that they just ask good questions. So I have repositioned them slightly to get you to talk about them. But for the audience listening and or watching, this is all stuff that really has come from you. And if you haven't participated and you listen to this content and you want to participate in that way, let me just say at the front, because I will also say at the back. Follow Todd on LinkedIn if you're not. If you're watching and consuming this content on YouTube, or a place where you can drop a comment. If you've got ideas or questions, absolutely, we'd like to make sure that gets part of another Qore conversation in the future. So don't be shy if there are things that you want to challenge, or you want to talk about, or you have comments about. That's the spirit of why these episodes get recorded in the first place. So Todd, I'm going to start you with you personally have seen the evolution of dealership data for not just months, decades really now. And a lot of people are curious about this. Like, what do you see from your perspective is really fundamentally broken about how dealers are still managing data today?
yes, that's a very deep question, but let me break it into a couple small components that easy to kind of get your arms around for our conversation. First, that the current architecture in automotive, these legacy systems, allow for any data to come in, and nothing really keeping the data clean. And that's an important thing. So hygiene is one of the greatest challenges for dealers with data.
Mm.
And because of that, with bad data coming in, or people changing things and no one checking and correcting data or keeping it updated, data decays through time, actually very quickly. And because of that, we end up with a mess of data that dealers continue to just market to and waste a lot of money and spend. So that's a piece of it. So I'm going to say the hygiene around data, and the other side is the connectivity of the data. So two sides in this side, which is one, the limitations of moving data out of systems that the dealership can make operational is very limited. So when it costs money, which is kind of bizarre, I think we're the only industry that you have to pay to get access to your own data. And this is a cost center for dealers, unnecessary, but exists today. And it has limited the amount of data being able to be moved between systems. Second, then, part of that data, that API world, is then being able to connect that data to other non-automotive tools. So when we have very limited data hygiene available, then you have these limited APIs that you have no hygiene working around, then it's really hard to connect it to like a third-party tool. So third-party tools, best-in-class tools, have always been limited in our industry, like a ActiveCampaign or MailChimp or Constant Contact. You wouldn't be able to use them. You had to use automotive-specific tools that were mostly spun up from the DMSs and CRMs, but they're not best-in-class tools. So I think these have been the biggest limitations for us is, hygiene and connectivity. And I'm hoping that over the next, 12 to 18 months, we're going to see a lot of this get solved.
Mm-hmm. I think we will. We certainly seem to be on that trajectory. The next thing I want to ask is a question that came from somebody who was wanting, I think, clarity around data swamp. I know you've, in some of the things you've written, and even on episodes where we talk about it, we talk about swamp. We kind of, the contrast to people that think they're building a data lake, they may have more like a data swamp. So with the term data swamp being used a lot, this person was wondering, like, what does that really mean kind of at the operational level at the dealership, at the store? And maybe, and they, I think they were also asking, like, why should a dealer be concerned about that? And although that question, I think for some people, especially like you, it's like, okay, I think it's kind of obvious why you should be concerned, but you and I are both really, sympathetic and understanding at the dealer level that there's a lot of people who are like, nah, I don't really understand why that should be. And nobody wants to raise their hand and say, I don't know, because they'll kind of feel like they'll be made to look like they don't know what they're doing, when that's just not the case. As I mentioned, the technology is moving so fast. So a dealer says, data swamp, I hear you talk about it. What does it mean kind of operationally at the store, and why should I be concerned about this data swamp?
Yeah, so look, I feel right now lots of groups have had the ambition of trying to aggregate their data in one spot. So they build a data warehouse or a data lake. So basically, the only difference really is a data warehouse, it will be structured data, while a data lake can take both unstructured and structured, but it kind of pulls it into a giant lake, and then you write software to go access the lake, pull water out of it, or information per se. But the problem is these data lakes get very polluted really fast. And because of that, you'll have a hard time accessing and getting useful data out of your data lake. So we kind of lean more towards spending the time, money, and effort to creating more of the data warehouse up front versus, just using a data lake. But, I think other industry, I'm going to label them experts. I'm far not an expert in anything. I feel like I'm a complete student. But I'm saying this, that many experts have told dealers, oh, you have to have a data lake and you need this to work your business. But by having a lake, you now need fishermen, you need boats, which is engineering, to go in and write programs and software to go ultimately extract from that. So that goes on. And then the other side is just data decay. So your lake, the fish, the plants in it get old and die. And that causes a problem. So in simple sense, people move, change of address, people crash cars or sell cars, no longer own, email addresses go bad, phone numbers go bad. people pass away. You have many different attributes that surround a customer profile that if you're not keeping them updated and accurate, your data lake can turn into that swamp very quickly. So I think it's very critical that if you are going to invest in a data structure, you do something that you can get longevity out of. It's easy to use and manage, scales with your organization, and doesn't become overkill. I think in our industry, we hear lots of people talking about data bricks or, take your pick of a Snowflake, these are like Fortune 50 type systems. A car dealer has about, on average, 17 to 35,000 unique customer records per dealership. Having that type of horsepower is so overkill. It'd be like putting a drag race engine in your Miata. Because it's not only putting it in, but then you have everything you do in one of these enterprise tools. You need engineering. You need QA.
Yeah.
Like, we're car people. We're car dealers. We're not engineers. Where are you going to get these engineering people? And it's not a build it like a SaaS tool and leave it and it just always works. You go in and log in. It is not. Data pipes break all the time. APIs break. All this has to be managed and monitored constantly. So you have an extreme engineering cost for these solutions. So I think many people have misinformed dealers on what they actually need. So I think for us, our goal is to keep it simpler, keep it set on the value, which is getting organized, clean data that you can execute against at will whenever you need it.
Yeah. You buried a lead or two. I won't go through all of them, but shout out to Simone from Auto Dealer Marketing or Dealer Marketing Magazine.
Dealer Marketing Magazine, yes.
Yeah. During the AI study group that you participated in a couple months back, she wrote up a thing and she called all of us that were instructors in there subject matter enthusiasts.
Yeah.
And I don't remember who coined that. I don't remember if that came from you or one of the other guys, but I think you're very much not just a subject matter enthusiast, but I think it's fair, and I think it also says a lot about you. They're like, don't call me the expert, but you're definitely a thought leader in these categories for dealers. And I think that's really important because when we have these conversations and you go through answering all these questions are not you're not providing answers that are miniature sales pitches.
Yeah.
You're providing answers that actually talk through your understanding of the operations inside of a retail automotive establishment and bringing context to it around all of these really complex things that reside within data. And there are people who have no interest other than nefarious self-serving ones that have very loud voices in every industry, but certainly in automotive, there's plenty of those. And so I think that's always important. I like to bring those things to the surface.
And I appreciate it. So.
Well, I wasn't going to say anything about it, but another thing that is a little bit of a buried lead that you just helped, I think dealers understand, the average dealer has 17,000 to 35,000 customer records.
Unique customer records, right?
Yeah.
And this is interesting, Sean. So let me frame this and this will give interesting understanding of underlying architecture of our industry and why it's so muddled. So in the CRM, you'll have a record of a customer, starts as a lead. Maybe you append the data back from the DMS into it. So you have a view of a customer bought a car. In the DMS, there's a sales file, and that's where you're going to do the sale and ultimately create the payment, do that in. So you have a sales file of a customer. Then that customer comes in for service. There's a separate file. You have to create the customer in now service. Okay. Now think about this. You're in the CRM. You're in the DMS twice, right? You come up to the parts counter to ask for a part. Guess what? You have to be entered again. And this is the silos of the data under the business operations of how a DMS was ultimately built and configured. And it hurts because you get like pieces of the individual cut across, like you would say, well, the DMS is one. It's not. It's a multiple databases that support operational UX, UI above it, that are quite disconnected, and nothing as like aggregating that data. And this creates a spawning of customer data. So it's like, it's easy to be in a system 5, 7 times. Like your wife Crystal brings a car in, your car. She's in there under your VIN now. Your daughter brings it in. She's in there under your VIN. So it goes to send you an email or direct mail and it says, oh, we have all these people. You really don't. You're sending messages to the wrong people all the time. And you're training people to ignore you by doing that. So I just hope I want to frame that because the context is really important to understand when you peel things back and understand something at an architectural level. It's much easier to understand how we got to the problem of we have bad data in our industry when you peel back the systems that are, let's just say, managing the data.
Yeah, I do think that's important. That was a great share. I mean, there's so much in that we could unpack even just on that from what that question got us around understanding what your real addressable market is and how this bad data that turns into the swamp, it contributes to the swampiness. It literally can just cascade into all kinds of bad decision making and kill your profitability in different areas, make you make terrible marketing and advertising decisions, bad things that horrifically impact the customer experience that you're trying to improve or deliver. And like it's good stuff. I want to move to the next thing though, because this is another good one. I thought this was a good question. I think this came out of somebody that was interacting with you, maybe through LinkedIn, but this was, what's the difference between CRM, DMS, CDP, or BI tools and QoreAI? So clearly somebody's trying to figure out, I got all these things and kind of like where does QoreAI fit in this? So I guess you get to be a little bit selfish about QoreAI in this answer.
Okay, so I'm going to start with what Qore is. We're a data intelligence layer that literally lives above any of the other products that you've now mentioned. So a CRM to me is nothing more than a lead management tool that has an expiration date in the age of AI. Because what we're using is leads come in, I hold my salespeople accountable to tasks. Lots of these tasks are already beginning to be done by AI, whether it's email, text messages, I'm soon outbound voice. We already have inbound voice. It's not a leap to say that side, that product in your in your tech stack will disappear. The functionality will not, but that actual product is going to disappear. DMS, your dealer operating system, this is where you're actually doing transactions. So to me, it's a transactional database. You have a lead database in a CRM. You have a transactional database in a DMS. Because what is a DMS? It is truly at its nucleus, it's an accounting platform that has built components around the accounting. And that is a sales intake to be able to take in payments, do forms, do F&I, service to take in customers, shop load management, and warranty claims, etc., parts, right? So you have these business units that have been built around. So a DMS is just a transactional view of a customer because that's all that's really in it. Customer bought from you, they sold you a car, or they came in for service. Okay? CDP is this other spin-off idea of yet another database that you're going to be able to segment and market from. So you could technically do that from the CRM. You could technically do that from the DMS, and there are functional tools that do these things. Yet now someone wanted to create a new one, creating one more database for you to manage. And for us, we think it's such an unnecessary thing, because to get to our data layer, our data intelligence layer, we had to aggregate all the data from all these systems anyway. We had to organize it. We had to hygiene it. We had to then enhance it with more intelligence to make the AI more efficient in understanding who you are, building algorithms of maybe when you might buy next or when you might service next. So you can connect that to any marketing tool. So to me, a CDP is was a short-sighted application in auto that's absolutely unnecessary. Because then you also had, and you didn't throw it in, but I'll throw it in just for fun. And then you have equity mining tools on top of it, right? Again, yet another database. Now you have different people who are marketing to those people who are quasi, okay, maybe going to buy because their lease is done or loan is done. But that is basing it only on a transactional understanding. And let's be honest. Let's just say you've been paying for a car for 5 years, okay? You just sent your last payment into the bank. Do you want to quickly go get a new payment? Most likely not. Now, lease, yeah, most likely you have to, or you're going to buy the lease out, right? So behaviorally understanding that is one thing. But again, with a data intelligence layer, we understand that already. We are like, this guy seems to buy out a lease, drives it for 2 years, sells it, or leases something else. Or this person, like clockwork's always on lease. This person buys a car, pays it off, rides it for another 3 years, and then we see his cycle. So by understanding that and then wrapping the transactional understanding with behavioral understanding. Did they just buy a house? Did they move? They got a new job? They just had a baby? Thousands of different, like for me, pull signs of an understanding. The algorithms can pick up and find patterns in really fast. And that's our job. Our job is to organize the data, find the patterns in the data, then help you connect that to however you want to activate it.
Love that. Very interesting. I think extremely important too. I mean, you're talking about, they're like signals. There's so many different signals. All of these things get put together and they become the intelligence that helps you make much, much better decisions, precise decisions. A lot of people think because we're in the digital age that every single thing that you could use gives you really precise measurement in the data, and it doesn't, especially if your data is garbage or it's super dirty, or like you talk about hygiene. So that kind of segues a little bit into, and sorry, but the next couple of things that I want to bring up that come from all the questions are still going to be a little bit QoreAI centric. So I know you don't like to be all, self-serving, but you're going to have to be on a couple more of these. So this one I know comes from people that have keyed in on when you talk about activating data versus just aggregating. Yeah, so you can get a big old pile of data, but then what do you do when you're activating? And so relative to that, could you, and you kind of were just actually in the last answer that you were providing, but walk through a little bit how a dealer might go from this like raw, data to some real-time actions, and maybe contextualize it through like what a QoreAI experience might bring to the dealer from that.
Yeah, let's break it down. So obviously, at the heart is going to be this hygiene and enhancement, but you need to do something with that. I mean, just having a pool of all your customers clean and organized, that's not really the end outcome, what you want, right? You want some intelligence from it. So that's that data intelligence layer. And out of that, then you want to be able to create segments. So our audiences, maybe by persona, like I want to see everyone, let's just say you have a glut of hybrid EVs right now. And you're like, man, I wish I knew how many people in my database would lean towards being EV friendly or hybrid friendly in a purchase. Then how many people are in market right now in my area that could even qualify for one, and how many people, like, again, a splinter. I'm narrowing it down, and then at the end of those questions that you ask the LLM inside Qore, you have an output list, and now you connect that list to whatever. It can connect to something direct like Volley. Maybe you use it as a call center. Maybe it connects to an active campaign or MailChimp, or maybe you want to just connect it to a Facebook audience or Google audience for retargeting. Maybe you want to send it to a direct mail house. Maybe you want to send it to some OTT and get in front of those people this weekend on television. I think for us, we're at Qore not as interested in the marketing. We don't do any marketing. It's not our job. We're the data partner. We are your data center, right? And what I mean by that, we create the dealer's data center, and then we help you manage it. So you don't have that. We are the partner for that. And then we want to connect it to the tools you want to use. So if that is, you're like, I hate Active Campaign, I want MailChimp. We're like, great, connect it up. 4 clicks, there you go. Or, hey, I want to connect this to my Google Analytics. Cool, connect it up. Or can you help me understand, we use some email tool outside, some auto-specific one, whatever it is that, hey, we're sending out emails. We can pixel it, give them a small piece of code. It's on every email in the UTM, and we can see, oh, that customer came to the site, there's an appointment, or customer ultimately transacted or serviced, how much. So you can kind of start seeing the whole picture. Other ways you could activate data is we have all recall data with our partnership with AP Recall, where so by having all that data available, we can scan inbound service appointments and look for people who have open recalls against a car. So instead of your service advisor pulling it up while you're standing in the drive and saying, hey, Sean, you have an open safety recall, first thing out of your mouth is, well, how long is that going to take? I was going to wait for my car. And most likely you won't do it then, or creates friction, or creates tension for you, and like, oh, now I got to get a ride, and like challenges.
Yeah.
But if I swam upstream and called you 2 days ago before and said, hey, Sean, I noticed you're coming in on Friday. You also have an open safety recall. Is that something you'd like us to go ahead and fix while you're here? You at home in your comfort will make that adjustment. Like, oh, yeah, no, I'll have time, or I'll figure it out. So I think there's, again, using data to triangulate timing of messaging, that you're delivering right message, right moment with your customer.
Yeah, I love that. I'm going to add something here, or add a question, because I know that what you guys have built, it's not just sales. It really touches, the operations of the whole store, service. I know we had early conversations when we started your podcast around fraud prevention.
Okay.
There's so many things that happen inside the dealership and the kind of technology that you've built. But my question is actually, for the dealers that I think are the ones that most need the insights from your thought leadership, what would you say is, like, right now, like maybe the biggest, or one of the biggest untapped opportunities within all this for dealers? So the dealer who's like, what's the biggest place right now where I should probably be like, man, this is why I need to be jumping on this? Like, there doesn't even have to be a miss, just untapped opportunity. Where does that dealer go first?
I'm going to mentally blow your mind right here.
I'm
your
ready.
Own customer. You ready? Your own customers. Previous. Look, dealers spend a disproportionate number of dollars per month on new customer acquisition, purchasing leads, driving new business. There is a huge subset of your previously have interacted with you. They've bought multiple cars from you. They bought and serviced from you. Or they've only bought from you. They've never serviced from you. Or they've only serviced with you, but never bought a car. We can see all that data. There's so much value right there, Sean. I don't need to take you to a new mountain to climb. All the food to run your store is in the valley below. It's right there. I know it seems like, what? And Steelers will be like, well, we do market to our people. No. You market to everybody the same. That's not marketing to your own people. We run ads, our people see it. They're not to your people. Meaning, when you have a relationship with someone, your conversation changes dramatically.
Yeah.
Right? Versus blanketing everybody in a generic statement.
Yeah.
So this is that level where, because of technology today, we can ramp up personalization and drive messaging that is really for a specific audience. Like we talked about the EV audience. Like if you know these are EV people, you talk in an EV language. Again, you can use ChatGPT to quickly create an email or some type of communication to that audience. To me, your existing customers are the gold mine that remains untapped. Now, dealers will edge around this. They'll say, well, Todd, we do equity mining. Sort of. You do it at the pace of one or two people who are working, then not working. You fire them. They don't close enough. So whatever happens inside there, you're still missing opportunities. You're only hitting a narrow swim lane. Service also is complete huge opportunity. We see statistically a percentage of people, varies by store, who are coming in for service to get their car fixed, have a super high propensity to want to buy a car.
Mm.
So those are people I'd walk out and say, hey, Sean, great to see you. And thank you so much for your business today. You know, I was looking at your car. You have any interest in knowing what it's worth?
Yeah.
I don't need to go in there and offer some formal, hey, you want to get your car appraised?
Right.
I need to have a conversation
that
puts you in a position that, oh yeah. And I know most likely you're in market because of the data and behavioral signals. I'm not going to walk up and say, yo, Sean, I know you're in market because all these data signals that we're tracking about you. You think like, we're part of the NSA at that point. But, listening to everything and filtering off of it. Mm-hmm. But I look at this as a huge opportunity where, now look, the person could be bringing their car in because they're going to gift it to a child. So they're still going to need a new car. They could be spouses taking it over. They want it to be safe. They could be selling it to a family member. They could be curbing it because the dealer knocked their head off during COVID and left them so far underwater that they tried to get it appraised and it's so out of whack. So they need to curb the car, but they got to get it fixed to do that. So whatever the underlying circumstances are, that's for discovery. Mm-hmm. But the signal is there and it can be leveraged. And I think smart dealers, I know our dealers, this is where they're focusing their time. I don't need to use AI or use my data everywhere. I have to come up with a couple workflows that I one can do and execute. I'll do it consistently and build from that. I kind of view it as, you build in layers, right? That's what gives you strength organizationally. Makes your walls thick, but you just keep building layer by layer. So I always say, start with a couple campaigns, whatever they are. It could be targeting service drive for inventory acquisition, smart. Could be around recalls, just ensuring you get that warranty business. Could be stopping defection between customer warranty work and customer pay, getting them in on that last service visit before that transitionary point. And again, whatever it is, once you have all your data clean and organized, it's so easy to get to that data to then go ahead and take action against.
Many excellent examples in that answer. Next is AI is the buzzword. And I'm sure that this had to have been a dealer that thought about this, because the way that this question originally came, it was like AI's buzzwords in every vendor pitch. So you can put yourself in that scenario, Todd, is, dealers are probably getting less excited and more fatigued with how AI comes up in all these vendor pitches. Some people have been throwing out AI in their vendor pitch for a few years now. They should be saying fancy automation tool, but in this case, put yourself in the seat where the dealer's like, hey, everybody that's coming in and talking to me and doing a pitch, they're talking about AI. So it's a buzzword to them. For that dealer, tell them how Qore's use of AI differs from what they probably are thinking is snake oil, smoke and mirrors, all that kind of stuff.
Okay. Great question. The average product you see today in automotive is a wrapper around ChatGPT. So you're not seeing real AI in our industry. And I can tell you exactly how I can tell this. One, I've used many of these systems. They're not learning. A true LLM is going to continuously learn. And it would be very hard to have just a flat rate fee against something that's a compounding tool. So if you understand how reasoning works in an LLM model, you ask it a question that takes tokens. And then if it's a complex question, that token sprawl, because now it needs to ask 5 different other questions. So the cost is magnified. So how could I charge you $1,000 for a product with real AI in it? You can't. This is why everything, what you're seeing real, actually enterprise AI, is you're going to pay for usage. It's coming to auto. It has to come to auto if we're going to use real AI. Absolutely. So first I'm saying, one, it's mostly everything you're seeing or experiencing is a wrapper. Next, beyond that, I would not buy AI. I would not go in search of AI. Instead, I would flip this and ask the question, what process are you looking to automate? Because, and whatever process it is, let's document it first and see if it is capable of automating. Because I look at, and you look at your dealership, average dealer maybe is about 260, 265 processes to operate fully. So you have to start looking at your business in, okay, I have 265 things I'm going to need to tear apart, document end to end what success looks like, what good, better, and best is in that workflow, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. And then you have to lay it against a risk model. Like, if I give the AI the ability to quote payments and it quotes a bad payment, I am now going to be liable. That's going to cost me. That's high risk. I would not do that. Or maybe I have AI and now it's responding to customers via text and email and doesn't have good guardrails, goes berserk and sends all kinds of stuff to the customer. I am now liable. So I always flip this. I'm more interested today in dealers looking inward. What and how can you leverage technology to automate the things you're trying to do that not necessarily is customer facing? This, and again, we lean into the customer facing stuff because all the people selling to car dealers and all these widgets. But I think there's far more value. But it begins with your workflows, understanding the processes in your store. not the crazy ones written in some dusty book that nobody follows. The actual workflows that are being executed every day. That has to be understood. AI, to me, I tell every dealer, don't care about AI. I know it's in our name, but it's an underlying core of what we actually are. It's not what we do. Like, AI is not a go do thing. AI is just a functional piece of software, software. It's not a SaaS. It's something you have to continually learns and trains and put guardrails around it, that it doesn't say or do malicious things or do inappropriate things or do things wrong. I think we talked off camera about Taco Bell. Now, here's a really good example of this. So we see the news, Taco Bell added AI to their delivery process, their drive-through process.
Yeah.
Where it takes orders. So you see on TikTok or all these people posting, it ordered 18,000 waters, or it's saying, with my Mountain Dew, what would you like to drink with your Mountain Dew? Like, because, and on edge casing, which it's going to have, too much loud noise in the background. Their music is on. Customers change their order. It can't behaviorally understand all this. But it's crazy because only what people are focusing on are these few negative things. Yet, it fulfilled 2 million successful drive-through transactions. If you or me were an employee of Taco Bell and we completed our 2 millionth successful drive-through experience with a customer, we win Employee of the Decade.
You might win your own franchise.
We would be, oh my God, you're like the best employee we've ever had.
Right.
It doesn't matter that 100, 200 of misfires, because the system will learn, and as long as it's being trained. Now, there's on the wrappers, that's not really happening. But real AI requires training and time to continue to improve the models. But I point that out because I think it's really critical. You're not buying AI. AI is not a thing that you just plug in. It's like you're getting a baby, and it's a species. It's a different species. It's a non-human. It's the best intern you're ever going to have. As I say, to me that, AI is bad software, but it's good people. It is bad because if you treat it like a SaaS piece of software, it's not going to work. But as a person, if you treat it like an intern, it's a great intern. It doesn't forget. It learns dynamically. It works 24/7. It's not going to go leave you for a higher paying job at Deloitte after you train it for 6 months. This is what it is today. And this is how we should be leveraging it.
Yeah, there's so much there, but I don't want to extend the episode too long. And I got a couple more questions I want to ask you, but I just have to share a very quick example of all this AI stuff, because I love your perspectives on what it is and what it isn't, and how dealers should be looking at it and how they should utilize it. And just recently, within the last week and a half, teaching some people about AI, somebody did something that I think a lot of dealers, and certainly you're familiar with, where it's like, go and grab a bunch of data relative to running like some marketing campaigns and then by source, like traffic sources and how well they perform on engagement rates, conversion rates, all that kind of stuff. Like common key performance indicators, or KPIs, as we would talk in the jargon world. And as this was being shared within this group of people, I just immediately started thinking, man, here's another use case. The dealers have accurate sales data by even the month and the quarter that doesn't get disclosed all over, but they know in their market, like who's number one, who sold the most Fords in my market, And I started thinking, let me try to expand this a little bit. And I took this project and I just decided to go in a different direction and said, what if you also knew this brand, how many vehicles were sold in the month, and all this data was for the month of July 2025. and you knew that this many vehicles were sold, what other insights could you give me in my operation? And it just immediately dug in and gave me all kinds of things around market share implication and conversion to sales alignment and each channel's role in their market penetration, like with really great stuff. That's some of the stuff that you're doing, like that just takes people in a direction that is, you have people that understand the common maybe layer, and the way they use AI is probably a little off. And what they can be doing with it is what you're such an advocate for. That's why I think your thought leadership around it is really important. And last week when this was coming up, and I thought, oh, this was like, I forgot to tell you about it. I was like, I want to tell Todd about this because it was an example of the kinds of things that you talk about. There's so much more depth and meaningful usage than what most people are getting to hear about right now. And that's why I think a lot of dealers are like, okay, I get it. AI has got to be in here somewhere, somehow. But if they are going to put it in that category of buzzword, it's big data. And like, what do we do with that? Like and you're cutting through that noise, and which I greatly appreciated. I know that there's an audience of people that just continues to grow that appreciate that. Okay. So next, let's talk about ROI. Like, every dealer who's making these investments, once they get beyond maybe some of the concerns about, hey, this is buzzword, where does this work for me? Every smart dealer wants meaningful return on whatever they invest in. And so they're always looking for that. And I know that this particular question was kind of born out of a dealer thinking like, okay, well, if I was going to go to QoreAI, like I'd want to know, like, could you give me an example of a use case where a dealership went through and something changed pretty quickly? Like it gave them that return on investment. Do you have something like that without maybe disclosing one of your clients' names, but an example of that?
Absolutely. So a few just come to mind really quick. But before I answer that, which I'm going to give you a couple examples, I will say if you are looking for ROI, like a marketing outcome, or like I bought a new CRM, so I'm going to get 10%, or a new website, I get 10% more leads. You are contextually looking at it completely. And AI should be looked at like, okay, because I'd ask you, you tell me you need a new salesperson. I was like, what's the ROI on the salesperson? You wouldn't could you give me any answer? Yeah, you need a new lock guy. What's the ROI on the lock guy? Guess what? AI is far more like a person than a product. So we have to realign a little of our vocabulary and thinking. Now, there's still an ROI on that person. Absolutely. You're paying that person, they're doing a work, and they're giving you an outcome. Absolutely measurable. And the same with AI. But it's not a software product. And I think we have to look beyond that as the initial reasoning. Now, quick wins to me is about efficiency. So where a dealer was, well, they said their data lake had 860,000 people in it, and it really had 516,000 people in it. So cost savings immediately, because now you just have a bunch of junk data. One is that. Two, you are then, if you're sending marketing messages out and stuff is bouncing, it's hard to start really understanding your penetration and your return on marketing investment. It gets really gray really fast, and attribution becomes really hard to manage. So by having clean data, we know much more clearly how receptive an audience was. So, and a case in point, let's say I have 10, let's say I strip my CRM. I'm going to send 10,000 emails out. It's the whatever. So 12th, I'm almost halfway through the month. I'm like, oh my God, I'm behind. This is probably hundreds of stores nationwide that are right now like, crap, we need to pick up the last half of the month because our first half is weak. So what do? Go to CRM, pull a list. We're going to email blast them a special, come in this weekend. So you go and send your 10,000. But if 4,000 of them were quiet delivered meaning the ISP accepted it, didn't hard bounce it, but didn't deliver it either. 8 or 10% or 15% hard bounced, right? So there's another 1,000, right? And then do you say some more? So your 10,000, now it's half. And most likely, if you have a CRM that you're not cleaning it monthly, the deterioration is 2.5% a month, so over 30% annually. So if you haven't done anything in a year, 70% was probably okay, maybe, or less. And then do they still own those cars? Like, taking all those factors. So to me, I think that it's first the most valuable thing from our vantage is clarity. I want clarity in what I'm doing. And we can see that with good data. And another what I call just win, like off the cuff, is by unifying data into one spot. You also, from a compliance piece, as you know, I love fraud stuff and I have a background in that we know who is opted in and out because we're collectively pulling it across the disparate systems. So, case in point, they opted out of text and the DMS sees it. The CRM doesn't, and you go and text the customer. And now a very plaintiff-style lawyer in Florida takes that case, tries to turn it into a class action. You'll probably end up settling it for 30 to 50K because all your systems don't connect. This is every day. I mean, look, we could sit here, honestly, probably for an hour and discuss use cases and for us, it just depends what the dealer wants to attack first. Like, we're infrastructure. We're not a marketing tool. So we're providing the infrastructure to help them do the business how they want to do and tackle the most important things they want to tackle. Yeah. Like, we're not instructive of that. Like, dealers like, we need more customer pay work. Cool, let's figure it out. We need more. We have a hard time. We sell cars, but getting them to that first service appointment. Cool, let's figure that out. Like, take your pick. Like, there's a lot you can do.
One of the things that I love about what you built is I think that maybe you don't say it this way, but it feels like the things that everyone kind of understands that are at the surface, maybe the easiest things to take care of, it's a walk in the park for what you've built. But you can go to these layers that are deeper. And one of the examples that you just gave, for me, as a guy who, runs a B2B marketing agency, I know the value of somebody that would say, I have a tool that just identified that the 800,000+ records that you think you have that are legit, good, real, is actually more than 300,000 less, right? That, for me, immediately makes me think, and I think dealers need to know, that in and of itself, of leaving something that dirty, hundreds of thousands of records that shouldn't be in there, there are multiple risks that will cost you money if you operate in a data swamp or having that uncleanliness or the lack of hygiene. Why? Because you could have not just 10 or 100, you could have thousands of records. You would, especially in that example. There are definitely thousands of records that could bring you onto a blacklist when you're trying to do email marketing. It could bring you into places where the cost of not having accurate, clean data ends up causing a costly problem that could have been avoided. So there's all these different ways that you can improve operations and gain all these efficiencies and do smarter marketing. But there's also these things that you protect yourself against, that bad, dirty, old data is literally sometimes a ticking time bomb waiting. Sometimes it's the open door for people to actually find their way in and do nefarious things, and like it. So it's super valuable.
Think about this. I was talking to April Simmons,
Yeah.
and we were laughing because I said I just did a deal where he had like 30 some thousand deceased people. She goes, there's not a week that goes by I don't get a call from a grieving spouse or someone say, this person's dead, take them, stop sending us mail. And that's physical mail.
Yep.
That costs money. It's over $1. And all stems. So what you've done now, forget the $1 you wasted or $1.50. You've you've created a bad experience.
Yes.
For that person to your brand. So you're starting to spend millions a year building an amazing brand. And that type of move, you erode it instantly. And I think it's things like that. I think just having clean data in and of itself is an enormous structural organizational value that is, I would say, vastly underappreciated in our industry.
I think I might actually be so bold to say, I don't know if it would take you quite a long time, and it would be a focused effort to truly calculate all of the ROI and all the places that it would come from if you really start to execute in this manner. So, well, hey, last thing I want to ask you, and we'll park the episode, but that is, there oftentimes with dealers, and this I can tell the spirit of this question was from a dealer who's like basically saying that we're already operating with a sense of urgency around AI, and every time something new tech is coming down the path, and we feel that sense of urgency, but what they don't understand is maybe what the signals are or when the time is, what they might look to notice as the trigger for, hey, it's time to rethink your whole kind of data setup and tech and what you're doing. Can you share maybe one or two examples of like, if this is going on, or if this is where you're at, that this would be a place, like put yourself back in the DP's office?
Yeah. So, okay. If I'm sitting back in a DP, the first thing I'm doing right now is educating myself. I'm going to start to integrate using this type of functionality in my daily life. And why I'm going to do that is, one, gain a greater understanding of it, how it works, how it doesn't work. I'm also going to compound my value, my skills, and my ability to produce more with less of my physical time, right? And I think that is literal job one. Knowing what context prompt, like understanding what chain of thought is. And, like, it's very interesting. Most dealers, well, most people, you realize when you think out loud, you actually will produce better outcomes and thoughts. I know, Stanford study, super interesting to me. But it also works with ChatGPT and AI. So when you say, I have a question for AI, I want to go do something, I say, before you do it, show me, tell me exactly how you're going to approach it. And it'll like, this is what I'm going to do. And you could go, well, that's stupid, or do this, do that. And the reasoning behind this, this chain of thought is super powerful. But to answer the question clearly, it starts with using it yourself. And then when you're comfortable and when you're getting value and lift, and you see that lift, then take your immediate leadership and raise them up the same way that they're doing it. And then they raise their teams up. Once you're at that point, AI is going to be a functional, integrated part of your operations. And you're going to start seeing it because you start to realize, like, God, this thing's like having an amazing, like partner, like someone to collaborate with that is super smart, and they're getting smarter and smarter and smarter. Like today, I believe a couple of my GPTs, like I showed you the one that will allow me to, have a difficult conversation before I have the real difficult conversation. It allows me to, go through the whole process. It scores me, goes through this thing. But through time, it's getting smarter. Well, it's also making me smarter.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have a sea of these around you, you're just going to start operating at a much different level in your business. And by seeing that, when you rise up, guess what? What changes? Perspective. Your vantage changes.
Mm-hmm.
How you approach things change, right? Experience gets us there. Dealers who are just sitting in an office thinking you're going to buy AI, you are going to qualify it like a SaaS tool by saying, hey, what dealers are using it? Hey, show me the success. You are asking the absolute wrong questions.
Mm-hmm.
That is not how AI is. That's not how you judge it. That's not how you're going to measure it. And if you are, you're using the wrong playbook.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is this critical time where, look, you should always want to learn. We are now learning next to a different species.
Mm-hmm.
And you train it, and it helps you, and it can do things for you, and it's going to fall. It's going to collapse. And I'll give you the funniest one. And tell me honest if this has ever happened to you. You've rabbit holed your chat, and you're going down, and you're giving it all these instructions, and it's giving you good stuff. And then it says, hey, I'm going to work on this. Check back with me in 15 minutes, or check back with me in an hour, or check back with me tomorrow, or I'll message you tomorrow when it's done. Has this ever happened to you?
All the time.
Okay. So it's never gotten back to you, has it?
No.
Okay.
It's always me following up.
It's never going to get back to you because you have hit a point. The LLM doesn't know what to do anymore. It broke, and it doesn't want to make you mad.
Yep. Yeah.
And so it's crazy, but you wouldn't know that until you rabbit holed that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you think it's like, it's building me a plan overnight. That stupid thing's not building you a plan. It gave up on you. It gave up on that.
Yeah.
It broke context. It goes, check back with me and I'll figure it out, because it doesn't want to disappoint you.
Yeah.
These things are mirrors of us. They're reflections of us.
Yeah.
They're coded with bias, just like us. They are us.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that requires, think about this. You may take a product and you put data in and it gives you an output. A human, you don't do that. I don't just say, go sell cars. What do? I give you context. Hey, we're going to help sell cars. Here's some training material. Here's this. Let's role play with me. Shit, Sean, you suck. Don't say that to customers. We're going to do this game. We're going to do context. We're going to have feedback, right? We're going to do these. AI needs that.
Yeah.
That's the only way AI actually works.
Yeah.
You have to go through the same things we do with humans to make this technology work. And if you think it's plug and play, you are already so misinformed, because this is not how this works.
Mm.
And you literally showed up into an NFL game with a Pee-wee football playbook.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get run right over. You will not survive this.
Yeah.
And this is my biggest struggle with dealers, that I try to spend so much time and energy. And listen, I do 20 groups. The first hour has nothing to do with Qore. The first hour in every 20 group I'm in, it is this. We are going to go to prompt engineering school together right now, and you are going to leave comfortably using this. I just spoke in Montana. I had everyone, even the Bill, old chairman of NADA, had him download ChatGPT onto his phone. He didn't have ChatGPT. He's older. I get it. But afterwards, he's like, oh man, could this help me plan my vacation? Because he goes to France. And I'm like, Bill,
Was this
come on.
Underwriter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm like, Bill, I'm like, hey, check this out. And I'm laughing with Bill, and we're standing there. I'm like, watch, Bill. Give me 5 top Parisian restaurants that are not tourist, not known, with high quality this, what type of food you like. I asked him all these questions. It gave him the 5. He had never been to one of them. He goes to Paris multiple times a year. I think he has a place there. And he's like, oh my God. And he literally ran then over to his wife. Because when you use it and you see it do this and you're collaborating, it's such a game-changing, like, light bulb moment for you that I'm like, and I was happy just because he was happy. But more importantly, as I said, my goal is like, you better start using these tools and this application. And you don't have to be an expert, but you definitely better understand, because you don't even know what questions to ask about some widget with around a ChatGPT wrapper.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love this answer. It's a great place to bring this one to a close. Yeah, but it's a great place to do that. And but I just have to say to the audience, especially the folks in the dealership world, that's really who we want to bring education and insight to about what you're doing. It's great for other people in the industry too, but for the dealers, that's where your heart is. That's where your experience is really, I think, most beneficial in all of this. And the first thing you started to say is to a dealer principal, and really you're talking to general managers and anybody else that has to kind of manage and operate the stores. You got to use this yourself. You're an advocate of, you got to go and get this and understand it and start to utilize it, because it unlocks so much so that you become aware of what it can and can't do, what it is and what it isn't. It will, and you essentially said this, but it will, for a lot of people that don't realize this, it will dispel maybe some of your fear, and it will, or your concern, or what you might worry about. It will also unlock the creative and imaginative things that you maybe never thought there was a way to solve that problem, or to improve it, or to find efficiencies. It's unending for somebody who still loves to use their brain. And I don't know anybody running a dealership. I've never met anybody as a dealer at a dealer principal level or general manager level who wasn't sitting there with a very big appetite for, I want knowledge and learning and every competitive advantage I can get. And essentially what you're telling them about AI is start using it yourself, and then you're going to find out. And I think that's really, really, really great advice. And the fact that you kind of capped it off by saying that even at 20 groups, instead of starting with a self-serving message for, hey, just look at our stuff, and, kind of manipulating the crowd to say, oh, you guys have like solved world hunger, or, whatever the thing that you've done. You start out with, let's use this. Let's make sure and you give a perfect use case for somebody who, immediately found the value in it. That's only you'd unlocked the door for Bill and many others. And I think that's one of the reasons why the content you make is what it is. So to the folks listening and or watching, we always appreciate you spending your time with us for another Qore conversation. I mentioned it at the top, but I will mention it here at the bottom as well. Follow Todd on LinkedIn. That's the best place to really get the full immersive experience of the amount of content that he puts out. It's not just singular posts, but it's posts that can be to much deeper level articles, video clips, all types of content, every type of content you could imagine, but it's all aimed at and right over the target of what you would tune into this episode for in the first place. Todd is truly not just a subject matter enthusiast. He is a thought leader on this category, and he's willing to say the things that other people don't. In your best interest. So thanks for spending some time with us. We always appreciate that. Todd, thank you for giving us your time. And, don't worry. We'll be back before you know it with another episode of Qore Conversation. Thanks for tuning in.